I've always seen stealth in Kingdom Come Deliverance as a great homage to the Thief games. Playing as a sneaky Henry has always reminded me of the tension and satisfaction when completing levels in the Thief games. And this is regardless whether I'm sneaking in the first game or in KCD2. Both games offer amazing and immersive stealth experiences that rival most modern stealth game releases. And so for this video, I decided to list down what I think are the best stealth features in KCD2. Before we begin though, I do want to note that I'm just listing down my top 3 stealth features. There are a bunch of stealth mechanics in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and if I decide to talk about all of them, that will take hours. So yeah, let's start. The first best stealth feature I want to talk about is KCD2's gear system and the stealth stats binded to it. You see, in the game, every piece of clothing has stats that affect stealth. It doesn't matter if it's a hat or a robe or plate armor or a golden ring. If Henry can wear it, it will affect his ability to remain undetected. This is because in KCD2, every piece of clothing has a stat value for conspicuousness, visibility, and noise. To explain these stats quickly, conspicuousness refers to how fast enemies will recognize Henry. Visibility is how far before enemies can see Henry. And noise is simply how loud Henry is when moving. To visualize this, think of a standard stealth game scenario. Noise will affect the radius in which enemies will start to hear you and begin to investigate. Visibility is the distance when enemies can see the player and start investigating. This is also the distance when enemies begin to fill up their suspicion meter if they have one. Then conspicuousness is the speed at which the suspicion meter fills up. The lower the conspicuousness is, the slower it will fill up. So when you are playing as a sneaky Henry, you want all these stats as close to 0 as you can get. This means you will want to wear pieces of clothing that have low values for those stats. Keep in mind though that the game takes the total average of all equipped clothing, and due to how math works, sometimes even just vibrant shoes or shiny rings may compromise your sneaking business. Aside from encouraging stealthy clothing, I see this as one of the best stealth features because it is also affected by external factors. For example, when your clothes have blood on them, perhaps due to a recent fight, you will be more conspicuous, so guards are likely to spot you and question you. Then there's also the social stealth part of gears, wherein wearing certain clothing can affect interactions. For example, high charisma clothing can help you persuade guards and NPCs. I believe there are also scenarios where you can enter certain areas if you are wearing noble clothes. There are also times when wearing heavy plate armor is enough to intimidate bandits on the road, which will cause them to let you go or make them more likely to surrender during combat. So yeah, KCD2's gear system is a cool feature that stealth enthusiasts like me would surely love. It combines the immersive aspect of deep RPGs while also making stealth more than just a skill that you level up to become harder to detect. Next, let's talk about the pickpocket and stealth takedown minigames. I consider these minigames as great innovations and additions to stealth gameplay, whether it be for RPGs or for pure stealth experiences. Mainly because they give more depth to stealth actions instead of making them simple press one button and win mechanics. First, let's talk about the pickpocket minigame. In games like Elder Scrolls and Fallout, the pickpocketing experience is you crouch behind an enemy and then click a button to open the pickpocket menu. This opens them up like any container in the game, and then you can take out an item from their pockets. The chance for a successful steal will be dependent on your pickpocket skill level. But in a lot of cases, in Skyrim for example, your chances of pickpocketing will always have a 10% chance of failure, regardless if you are max level. In a game design point, I get this. Having a character have a 100% chance of pickpocketing may be unbalanced. So adding that small chance of failure will keep players from disarming every enemy and stealing every valuable item without risk. However, putting it behind a 10% chance to fail is just lazy and uninspired. It pushes players to just not bother at all with the mechanic or indulge in save scumming. Regardless, when you have 100 pickpocketing level, failing to steal a ring from an NPC because you are unlucky will not feel right. Especially since getting caught means either running away and getting a bounty, or fighting off the whole town garrison and eventually getting more bounty. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 fixed this by making pickpocketing a time-based minigame. How it works is that you point to an NPC's pouch and hold the interact button. As you hold the button, you can collect time or seconds, which is shown in the middle of the circle. When you release the button, you can now rummage around the pouch of the NPC within the time you have collected. As long as you have enough time and exit the minigame through the door button, the pickpocketing will be successful. Now, I do want to note that there is a sliver of chance involved in this minigame. You see, when you are in the time collection phase, you will notice the background color behind the numbers. That color indicates how close you are to being seen by the NPC, with green being the safest and red being the closest to getting spotted. The color you start with is based on RNG, though higher thievery skill will let you start with green most of the time. But when your thievery skill is low, you are likely to start with pale red. This can result in you getting about 5 to 7 seconds of pickpocket time, which will not be enough to look at the further items in an NPC's pouch. Sometimes there will be a case where you'll only have 3 or 4 seconds, barely enough time to move. But do note that as long as you exit through the door button, you are safe. But in rarer and unfortunate cases, you can get instantly spotted when you start off at the brightest red level. You see, aside from the color, there is also this line which is a threshold to make sure you get into the pouch safely. If you fail to pass that threshold, the NPC will instantly spot you. This is why when you start pickpocketing, you have to make sure you get past that line before releasing the button. Now, sometimes if you start at the brightest red possible, you won't even have enough time to reach the threshold, leading to an instant detection by the NPC. But this happens very rarely, perhaps once or twice in a playthrough. So 97% of the time, the pickpocket minigame will rely on the player's actual skill in timing and maneuvering in the UI. Now let's talk about the stealth takedown quick time input. A decade or two ago, the simple crouch, press a button, and execute a stealth takedown was great. It introduced a simple gameplay experience to satisfy a player's stealth power fantasy. However, fast forward to today where every game has a stealth takedown, the mechanic has become bland. Don't get me wrong though, cool stealth takedown animations are still satisfying to execute. But after 30 hours into a game, you've probably seen that takedown 500 times already. And it eventually loses its charm as you go on. I mean, it's just one button you press and you win. In KCD2, a stealth takedown is more hands-on. You still need to crouch behind an enemy and then press a takedown button. But during the choking animation, you are required to complete a quick time input. A blue sword icon will appear mid-animation and you have to press the attack button before it disappears. If you succeed, the stealth takedown will be successful. If you fail, the target will break free. But when a fail happens, there is a recovery period. A green shield icon will appear and you will need to click the block button to trigger it. If you're successful, Henry will win the struggle and proceed to do the takedown. Though do note that the shield icon appears for only like half a second or something, so it's really difficult to do if you're not expecting it. And so you see, from this alone, a simple stealth takedown becomes a high risk and high reward mechanic. Successfully performing the stealth minigame takes out an enemy from the equation. If you fail, there is still a chance of recovery. So when you fail, it would often feel like a skill issue rather than blind chance that the game throws at you. Furthermore, there is also the fact that despite successfully doing a takedown recovery, the enemy who struggled will remember Henry. To clear the logic behind this, I assume that during struggles, NPCs are able to catch a glimpse of Henry. So if you knock them out, they will remember it was you when they wake up. So they'll tell the town guards about it and you will become a wanted man. Now what this does is put you into a predicament. You see, there is a simple way to prevent the NPC from telling the guards. Simply kill them. Break their neck or something. However, if you're a big role player and playing as a good Henry, this option can be unappealing. Still, if you don't want to get that bounty, it's the only way. Thus, giving you an internal conflict wherein you weigh the pros and cons of doing something. There is no quest involved or skill check required. It's just you and your role playing. A unique experience that KCD2 Stealth can offer. Last but not the least, I want to briefly talk about the smart NPCs of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Like from what I previously mentioned, NPCs can remember Henry after a struggle and report him to town guards. But that is not all that NPCs in KCD2 can do. For instance, NPCs remember if they left a door open or closed. If they see that a door in their house or room was moved, they will start to investigate. And when they investigate, they are very astute. They will initially look at containers like personal chests to see if anything is missing. And if there is, they will report it to the guards. What's more, NPCs can even deduce that it was Henry who committed the crime just from the actions you make prior to the crime. For example, if you plan on stealing an item from a certain NPC's house, you may start to look around and even enter a prohibited area. If they spot you doing any suspicious activity like trespassing, they will accuse you of the crime regardless if they saw you do it or not. Personally, I gauge this mechanic by NPC's dialogue when they see me crouching or entering rooms. If their dialogues are something like this,
"What was that sound? Come now! You've no right to be here! Out!" "I never want to see you here again without permission."
I will not commit a crime, whether petty thievery or assassination, in the area for at least a couple of days. There is also the funny mechanic wherein NPCs will recognize their stolen clothes if you're wearing them. This one is kind of funny but can be annoying sometimes if you forget where you stole an item and you start wearing it. Aside from this, there are more NPC behaviors that directly and indirectly affect stealth in KCD2. And so if you decide to play the game as a stealthy Henry, look out for more of these types of behaviors.